So thank you so much for speaking to Bloomberg. There's, of course, a lot of topics here at Davos, as every year. This year, one of the main concerns that we've heard out there on the markets is these currency wars. Do you think they're still a topic?
No, it is. Coming from a country like South Africa, we have serious concerns about short-term flows. We have concerns about an overvalued rand. And like many other countries, we have concerns about the competitiveness of our exports. So it certainly is an issue.
But so how do you deal with the issue? You know, we're seeing a lot of finger pointing. The US saying, China, you should do more. China saying, well, guys, stop flooding all the world with cheap cash.
Well, our view for some time now has been that we are part of the G20. We're part of the G20 because it's a proven entity in terms of dealing with crises and matters of global concern. And we believe that we require a cooperative approach. Both in terms of looking at short-term responses, but also looking at some of the structural issues that come with it. So that's the first point. The second point is that we have already moved into a period of about 9 months where different countries are undertaking individual initiatives. Some of them active and some of them not so active, but nonetheless demonstrating that there are 10, 15, 20 countries that have appreciating currencies and that are seriously concerned about them.
But I've been covering the G20 for, you know, almost since the creation, and actually there's a lot of criticism because the plan on paper sounds great. The implementation somehow is a little bit left to, you know, to be desired.
Well, if you look at the bailouts of the banks, if you look at the fiscal stimuli that were done in 2008, 2009, that clearly was a demonstration that where there is political will, if we share the sense of urgency, we seem to have the capacity and command the resources in order to A, save the system, but B, stabilize economies both within countries, in regions and around the world as well. So that's a clear point of evidence that if there's will, we can get there.
If there's an emergency, there's a way to get there.
In a sense, there is an emergency. I think we want to avoid the concept of wars. We want to avoid the concept of bilateral clashes. We want a recognition that these are structural issues. But also, we want a situation where you want action taken both at the point where these flows are going to, but also at the point where the flows are coming from. And I don't think we're getting there just yet. The French president has raised his concerns, and hopefully under his leadership of the G20 in 2011, we might get somewhere.
I want to focus a little bit on South Africa. Your manufacturing is pretty strong. Consumer spending is also on the rise. Do you think you'll be able to beat your own forecast for growth?
Well, I'm an optimist, so I hope that both the international conditions and the local ones continue to actually improve. We are picking off a low base in a very good way. There's a lot of stability, both in terms of GDP growth, in terms of the fiscal picture, and now in terms of a new growth strategy that we're working on as well. So we're optimistic, but we recognize that we've got formidable challenges, and we've got very serious aspirations to meet as well. And as government, and as the private sector, and as the trade union movement, we need to work together in order to achieve some of the goals that we've set for ourselves.
How soon before, though, you actually see some job creation?
There's been a slight uptake of jobs, losses in some sectors, but gains in other sectors. And the picture around manufacturing, particularly petrochemicals and some of the other areas, the increase in resource exports, the pickup again on the consumption side, particularly over the Christmas period, are all positive indicators. Government itself is investing a fair amount in terms of public sector initiated jobs. And over the past few years, we've spent many billions of rands in this area, which we will continue to do. And the whole object of the new growth strategy is to work with the private sector and to explore new avenues. And remember, we are a country that's 16 years old. We are a country that has a large, young, unemployed population, which haven't had the opportunity to gain skills because of our own historical situation. So we've got to find jobs at the high end, but we've also got to find jobs at the low end. And those are some of the things that we're working on at the moment.
What's the current situation with the currency? It's weakened some 6%, and this is since the beginning of the year. How will that actually help you with exports, if anything?
Again, the currency, everybody acknowledges, is but one factor in exports. There are other competitiveness factors. And what's fascinating about the current situation, which you pick up here at Davos as well, is that the crisis has resulted in a self-recognition and a self-examination in many countries, including the US, which leads to observations which say that we need to restructure our economy. So each of us in our own way is looking at restructuring. And it'll be fascinating to see whether within the G20 context we can coordinate those initiatives so that we don't have another disorderly set of results as a result of initiatives that we're taking individually at the moment.
So we're really seeing these green shoots in South Africa. Is there a concern that actually they'll be scuppered because the central bank has already said that they're not ready to cut interest rates further?
I think that those are not the serious issues. The serious issues come from Europe. And everybody talks about love, the L and the U and the V. We've been part of the V in a sense. And our concerns would be extraneous factors must not lead to new and negative dynamics within our own country and elsewhere in the world. Our interest rates have come down quite phenomenally. I think there are other things that we need to do in our economy. If in the central bank's view there's space to decrease interest rates more, good for those who can benefit from that, which includes consumers and people who want to invest in our economy. But there are significant corporate surpluses in our economy as well, for now. And but lower interest rates do help in the investment cycle. But there are other issues, like I say, that we need to attend to improve our own competitiveness.
How concerned are you about food security? This is something that we're, of course, following very closely. It's seeming it's almost toppling some governments in Northern Africa. It's
an area of concern. We've had challenges in terms of food inflation and food price increases a couple of years ago. It seems to be returning right now. Similar issues with oil prices as well. And I think, again, collaborative work is required. The World Food Organization has recently issued a statement which is, again, if you like, warning the world not to become protectionist and stop exports of food, which will change the supply dynamics around the world as well. So it certainly is a concern for us, but a concern for many other parts of the globe as well. Once again, we come back to the same story. We need to find areas of cooperation amongst us.
Sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.